What's up YouTube, Dal here from Zephyr War Games, and today I am bringing you my second place branded Bystial profile. So I took this to a brand new locals in Bedford, really good locals, good turnout as well, and my matchups were Flunders, Tears, and I also placed a Time Thief Raid Raptor deck, which when it gets going is actually really scary because it produces like Infinity with like double to triple Fog Blades plus Retrograde. It's a really fun deck. Obviously it's not as hugely meta competitive as the other decks that I faced, but it worked out really well. My loss came to Flunders. We got it into game 3. They were able to activate Advent, and then I wasn't able to kind of push further forward through that play. Still, the deck performed really well, did a lot of good stuff for me. So I'll show you the profile, lay out everything I've got. I'll even show you the side deck as well. So, we start off with, of course, pretty standard and staple on this one. Triple Aluba. I played Triple Tragedy. Now, this was a bit of a mistake on my behalf because I forgot to put Construct in the extra deck. It is a 45 card deck, but the idea is that you put Construct in the extra deck so that when you play branded with High Spirits, you can reveal the Construct. And then you can get rid of the Tragedy. Tragedy would, of course, trigger an effect. And off the back of that, you can get another route to get into another fairy as well. I didn't play that, but I was playing the Allure with the Merry Carrier, so it worked out just as well either way. 2 Albaz alongside 2 Merry Carrier. A lot of people don't actually play this one, which is absolutely fine. I wanted to play my version a little bit differently, and I really like how this card synergizes so well with the Bystials. So there was a lot of times where I was activating a Bystial, and then I was able to go, okay, Magnamute Chaining 1, Merry Carrier Chaining 2. Merry Carrier would then give me the ability to get me the Albion Dragon, or would also get me the Cartesia. So Cartesia is obviously going to get better once we get the new Photon Hypernova stuff, but for now, I think it works out really nicely. Plus, it was a nice little way of having a Monster Negate in the hand, because if my opponent was like Dark Ruler in me, or turning the board off, or dealing with a Mirror Jade, I still had that Negate in hand. So it acted as if as an additional hand trap that, of course, gave me more synergy in the graveyard. I've got the 1 Adlerbyton, and then moving on to the Bystials, we've got the 2 Lubellion. I've seen a couple of profiles playing this at 1. It's an interesting kind of take. I'm not sure if I would play it at 1 or if I want it at 2. There are times when you see it in your hand, you're like, okay, this is really cool. So like, for example, there was a game where I was able to discard this or use it as fusion material. And then I had the second copy that I was able to discard to use it as its effect. So it worked out quite nicely. I can see why you can play 1. I don't think you need 3 of it, in my opinion. But, you know, works out really nicely. Triple Magnamute, Triple Druid Swarm, and Triple Soronir. Like, not Triple Soronir, sorry, Double Soronir. These put in so much work, and unbelievably, I kept bricking on the bloody things. There was a one time against a tier matchup where I opened up a Magnamute, a Soronir, and a Druid Swarm. Obviously won me the game because that was just 3 banishes. They never got their fusions off. So that was really kind of cool. But every other game I was like, yo, I've got too many Bystials and not enough Despias. But still put in a bit of work. And the last monster I played was the Edgimp because I was playing the Edgimp package. I was doing 2 Chain, 2 Patchwork, and 2 Poly. I was finding myself siding this down to 2 Chains, 1 Patchwork, and 1 Poly quite a lot. And it's just because that's personal preference. It's the way I kind of preferred to play that engine previously. So siding in, it was kind of like a direct route to kind of get rid of those and still be able to, you know, not disrupt the flow of the deck. It worked out quite nicely. I liked it. There was a lot of times just being able to recur resources, and in the tier matchup it was so good because they kept milling my chains and they kept milling my tragedies. So I was like, okay, 3 pluses, let's go. But yeah, moving on to the spells, of course, triple branded fusion. Mirror Jade gets the Starlight as well as the new Cartesia fusion, but this didn't. I really hope this gets an ulti in the future. Triple branded opening. This card works out really well. I kind of wanted to cut it down to 2. I wanted to try that out. But right at the last minute, I was like, okay, let's keep it at 3 and let's see how it goes. 2 branded in High Spirits. I did consider 3. I should have put 3 in. But right at the end, I was like, for some reason, my brain was like, you know, I'd rather play a 45 card deck than a 46 card deck. So I cut it down. It's really kind of cool. I feel that if I had the Construct in the deck, I would probably be playing this at 3. But the way that High Spirits works, which is really nice, is you reveal a monster in the hand, and then you reveal one in your extra deck that matches the type. So what was kind of cool is you could reveal any Bystial in your hand, then reveal an Albion in your extra deck, and then get your way into a very nice kind of Bystial, so you can get into Lubellion, which is really kind of cool. And I like that way of playing it. I think I used it that way once, and the other time, I believe I did a bit of a misplay, but I revealed a Masquerade to try and get me into a Fiend, which was to reveal the chains in the hand, to reveal the Masquerade. So it was a bit of a weird one. Anyway, I can see why it gets played. It's a good card. You could arguably cut this down to 40 cards, and it probably would be one that you'd consider getting rid of. It will become more important when we get Photon Hypernova, because you just have more targets. And then off the back of that as well, what makes it so good is I would highly consider playing Fusion Deployment in the next version. And in the next version, I wouldn't be playing 2 cards in my extra deck, so it kind of works itself out. I did play 2 Allures, and I think I saw it maybe once. Arguably, it could be cut. There's so much benefit off of activating Allure and then banishing a Tragedy or a Merry Carrier, which worked out incredibly well when it happens, but arguably it can be cut. 1 Brandy lost. I still play this because obviously it can get me into my Aluba, gets me into my Merry Carrier, works out well. Branded in red, pretty much simple on that one. Regained, Beast, Banishment, and Sword. Now I get it, a lot of people play the Counter Trap, the Retribution. Absolutely fine, but purely because I'm playing the Merry Carrier version and quite like the ability of looping it, Sword's really cool. Is you activate the Albion Dragon, you send this, and then you can banish this to add the Merry Carrier that you've banished either off of a Bystial or off of a, like an Allure. So what works out really nice is if you've got the ability, like you can Brandy Fusion a Merry Carrier, something like that. So let's say you go Brandy Fusion, you send the Merry Carrier and you've got a Bystial. You can activate the Bystial to banish the Merry Carrier. Merry Carrier's effect will go off to search you out the Albion Dragon. Albion's Dragon will then Foolish Bale the Sword, give you a random draw so it replaces itself. And then you banish the Sword to add back the Merry Carrier. So obviously by doing that, you've already branded Fuse, so you'd already have a monster that Merry Carrier can be used with, in conjunction with, to negate. So it worked out really, really nicely. Moving on to the extra deck. So I'll show you the 2 non-fusions that I play first, and then I'll go through the fusion. So the 2 non-fusions I play is the Wallow and the 1 Spheres. Wallow never made it. Probably will ultimately cut it. Spheres actually saved my arse in one game. So there was a game when my opponent was playing Tears, and it was the same game that I literally was able to go Soronir, Magdamu, and Druid Swarm. They made Baguska, and it was very difficult to try and break the Baguska, so I ultimately went into Spheres, which meant during my opponent's turn, what I could do is you could tag out the Spheres, and you go into Albaz, and then Albaz's effect would then trigger to give you a Mirror Jade. There was a time, like I said, in that particular hand, I had opened up all Bystials and no way of getting into like Branded Fusion or anything, so that came up clutch. I would still highly probably get rid of the Wallow, definitely, and you can put in more Super Poly targets if you wanted to be playing Super Poly or anything else. So we've got 2 Mirror Jade. Oh, why has this got to be a Starlight? 2 Mirror Jade, 2 Lubellion, 2 Albion, and 1 Albulanatus. Arguably, if you cut the Wallow, it'd be the 3rd Albion very easily, or it can be the Construct, entirely up to you. I think these all worked out perfectly. I wouldn't really want to change the ratios. A couple of people were considering cutting this, but luckily the tier match that I faced, he was also playing the Cash Tierers, so he played Unicorn. Only was able to resolve his effect once, thank heavens, but he couldn't really banish. There was nothing he could have banished as a one-off that was like, yeah, okay, cool, that ends your turn, or was so effective because I was playing multiples of everything. So Masquerade, Quinteris, Starving Venom, Guardian Chimera, and Drakastapelia. All pretty straightforward and simple on this one. I could have played a second Guardian Chimera. I don't know if I would need to or want to. In a cash format, you probably could consider it, just because I expect Cash to be ripping the extra decks apart like no tomorrow, which just absolutely sucks. But even then, when a Cash is trying to rip apart a board, they've got Lubellions they need to go through, they've got Mirror Jades, they've got Albions, they've got Albulanatis, Guardian Chimeras, like everything else that they might want to try and chip away at. So just be warned, that is something that may happen. And other than that, let's move on to the side deck. So the side deck at the moment was 1 Necro World Banshee and a Zombie World. So this was purely for a Flunder matchup. The locals, it was the first time I was going to it, so I didn't know what to expect, whether to expect meta or anti-meta or rogue. There was a lot of rogue decks around. I ultimately ended up facing both the meta decks. Oof, pain. But this was obviously in there for Flu. 2 Ghost Sisters, because if time gets called, you kind of need that ability to, you know, have a way of winning when time gets closer. 2 Twins, I didn't have Cosmics on me, and Twins actually was clutch in some of my games, so, you know, sometimes it works out. Lava Golem, pretty standard on that one. Triple Evenly and Triple Lightning Storm. Yes, I know this is only 14 cards. I basically, at the last minute, I'm in an R in between Dark World or Branded. I was like, I haven't played Branded for a long time. I kind of want to play it, refresh myself on it, especially with the new stuff coming out as well. And this is ultimately the side deck I ended with. So you've got Board Breakers, technically there. Lava Golem, because you don't actually need to rely on your normal summon. You've got 3 copies of Branded Fusion, plus you have 3 copies of Branded Opening. So you've got 6 ways of getting to Aluba, ultimately into Branded Fusion as well. and it worked out really, really nicely. The zombie world is purely for the flu matchup. God, the flu matchup sucks so bad. The issue is with the flu matchup is like a barrier statue pass can be pretty damaging, or like a barrier statue with the map pass can be very damaging, because you know the monster you try to normal summon to kill the monster, to kill the barrier statue is not going to last. So I do wish that I kind of had like droplets and something else in here. But that's just lesson learnt for the next time, so that I know exactly what I want to kind of update and change. And I definitely need to put construct in if I want to be resolving high spirits to its maximum capabilities. Anyway, that is pretty much it for this version of the build. Worked out really, really nicely. It was a great bunch, like I said, down at Bedford. So it's Bedford Geek Retreat. If anyone's in the area, by all means, come down. There's a lot of rogue matchups. There's a lot of really fun decks over there as well. I believe, if I can remember rightly, the top 3 was... First place was Flunder, second place was obviously branded Bystial, and then third place was Scareclaw. And I think Scareclaw is a very scary deck, funnily enough, because I don't think a lot of people know how to play against it. So it can really, really catch you off guard and can cause a lot of issues. So it'll be interesting to see how that kind of develops in the new format as well, because it's a very easy, quick OTK deck as well. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. If you do have any questions at all, by all means, please put them in the comments down below. I will be more than happy to answer them for you. As absolutely always, guys, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.